Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Kris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is episode 94 of Childcare Rockstar Radio, featuring Mecca Johnson. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This is Kris Murray, your host. Here at Childcare Rockstar Radio, we are celebrating the fact that we surpassed 70,000 downloads in podcast land of this podcast, Childcare Rockstar Radio. Super psyched, and thank you for being a part of our journey. We are having a blast doing the podcast, and today's guest is an incredible, heartfelt speaker, former childcare leader, coach, and professional development expert, and her name is Mecca Johnson. She has 19 years of experience working in the Primrose Schools franchise organization as a leader and a people developer, and has worked as a teacher and a director, and then worked her way up into executive directorship, et cetera, and up into the corporate levels. And she is just an amazing soul. She has come to our Academy live events and been a speaker in the past. And so I also know Mecca because she and I are both John Maxwell certified. So she has a lot of energy, amazing mindset, and early learning expertise to lend to today's podcast episode. And so diving into what you're going to hear with her and with our conversation is all around what she calls the 5 guardians of life. And I will tease that up, that you can dig into the episode and learn what the 5 guardians are, what that means, how it's going to impact your life. And this episode is extremely full of inspiration, motivation, ideas for being a better leader, creative solutions to stress and times of sadness, dealing with the pandemic, crisis, and so much of the not good stuff that has been thrown our way this past year. But I think you're going to really enjoy our conversation. It's quite rich in a fabric, talking about the 5 guardians of life and much, much more. We also talk about the importance of not just looking at payroll, but looking at your people in terms of the teacher talent that is in your organization, and really treating people with the customer care and customer service that you would give to your clients. So really extending that approach of caring and loving to your teams. And as a leader, the human element of looking at your employees and giving them empathy and love, and really seeing them as not just a number on a profit and loss sheet, aka payroll. And I get that question a lot when I'm coaching folks in the academy, is how can I get my payroll numbers down? How can I watch that expense line? What can I do? What can I do? And while it's important, and we have benchmarks that we share for where your payroll should be as a total percentage of revenue, it's an important number to try to manage and drive down when you can. But Mecca's point is well taken, which is that your folks, your teachers will be the ones that, when cultivated and when you have that amazing culture, they will drive your company forward, and those profits will show up at the bottom line if you care about your people. So that was an amazing lesson that we talk about on this podcast. And we talk about gratitude. So some of these things might feel cliche. And I think what we do is bring a new take on the ideas of gratitude, hope, and joy to today's podcast with Ms. Mecca Johnson. Here personally, I am in my home office today, getting ready for a fun holiday season, working on all the little various tasks that one has to do getting ready for the holidays as a mom of a blended household now of 4 teenagers. So Owen's in college in Wyoming. He'll be coming back on I think the 18th or 19th. The rest of the kids are here and keeping us very busy with all of the teenage activities, parties, COVID related issues, schoolwork, upcoming vacations, et cetera, et cetera. And we are just in the throes of exactly what you guys, many of you are also in the throes of, which is just holiday prep for extended family and just also being grateful, being so, so grateful for the blessings that we have in this difficult season, but also a very joyful season as well. I have one other thing I want to share with you with regard to a really cool, very exciting upcoming thing that we're doing. So you might recall that last August, I did my very first online challenge, and it was called Crush Your Fall Enrollment Challenge in 5 days. And so what we're doing is we're taking that Crush Your Fall Enrollment Challenge, and we've changed some of the content, and we've expanded it to a 7-day online challenge, and we are launching it officially on December 28th. So, in about a week and a half, you'll be able to go to this website, and maybe you want to jot it down if you want to join me on this challenge. It's called chrismurraychallenge.com, chrismurraychallenge.com. And you'll be able to go there and learn more about this challenge. And what is it about? What do we do? Why are we doing a challenge? And what do you stand to gain from it? So, first of all, I need you to know that this challenge is going to be our first ever 100% free challenge, which is super exciting. So there's no strings attached. So if you've been listening to this podcast or watching me on YouTube for a while and you are looking to either work with me or learn more about how we make huge gains in business and in life for people, from enrollment to staff culture to leadership and to the money side of the house, this challenge is for you. If you've been sitting on the sidelines saying, maybe I should work with Kris as a coach, or I'd like to get to know more about what she teaches, and this challenge is perfect for you. We get started on January 4th, and it's a 7-day challenge. Every single day, all you have to do is slot an hour of your time to be with me on a private Facebook group. And the cool thing about these challenges is that it basically forms an instant tribe and community of people who are in the challenge. And I'm anticipating at least 500, if not 1,000 people in this challenge. And so you'll be in a community and a tribe of other early learning owners and directors and leaders. And we'll be together for a short amount of time, but a very powerful amount of time. And this is the best way to kick off 2021 into a new stratosphere of success and what's possible for you in your life, in your school, in your business, and for you also personally. So, we're going to be doing some goal setting. We're going to be some working through mindset limitations, working through your story, the things you're carrying around with you that can be shed in a new year. I'm going to give you um, my roadmap to success in terms of the framework that I teach for how to build your enrollment quickly in any season, any economy, COVID, non COVID, recession. I don't care where you are, subsidy, private pay, it works for every single person that uses the training that I offer on this challenge and throughout some of the other things that I teach and offer. Every person that implements these ideas gets results. You might get 2 enrollments, you might get 10, you might get 20, you might get 100 in 7 days or less. And it's not just about enrollment, it's also about attracting the best staff. All the staff you need, the A-player staff. You might be thinking it's impossible. You've been trying and trying to find people to hire, to find qualified candidates to fill those classrooms. And I'm going to show you what you're missing. So in this challenge, we're going to not only use this approach for enrollment, but I'm also going to give you some serious nuggets and an actual workbook for what to do to find more qualified teachers, hire better, hire smarter with less pain, and to grow your enrollment, because the name of the challenge is 6 figures in 7 days. The 6 figures in 7 days challenge with me, Kris Murray, and friends. You heard it here first. This is the very first time I'm announcing this challenge, and that we're doing starting January 4th. Not only that, but there's going to be some amazing prizes that you can win, including a STEAM lab worth $5,000, guys. So if that's not enough reason right there to jump on into this challenge, I don't know what is. So join the challenge at krismurraychallenge.com starting on December 28th. Mark your calendar. Yes, I know it's between Christmas and New Year's. What else you got going on? Let's kick in to full high gear for 2021, and let me show you the exact way to go about making this your best year ever. And just by being in the challenge and signing up for free, you can win a $5,000 STEAM lab for your preschool. No strings attached. So go to krismurraychallenge.com and sign up. That's your homework. Okay. That's what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for being part of the show and being in the audience of the show. There are thousands of you out there that are listening to every single episode, and I love that, and I can't wait to work with and meet all of you. This is episode 94 with Mecca Johnson. Let's dive right in. Let's go. Enjoy. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am thrilled to bring you a fantastic guest today on our podcast, Miss Mecca Johnson. How are you?
I'm good. Doing well. Enjoying Texas in a little town just outside of Fort Worth in Granbury. The weather's beautiful today, so I'm doing great.
Excellent. Very, very good. Tell us a little bit more about you, Mecca Johnson. We want to know some highlights of your professional journey. You have had a long and very successful career in early childhood, and now you are out and doing speaking and consulting and training and all sorts of Zoom training here in this crazy virtual age. So
yes.
Tell us more, give us more of your highlights of your journey, if you would.
I started teaching when I was 2 years old. I think I was born with teaching in my blood, and that's where I'm the happiest and most fulfilled. But I taught 7th graders first. And then just out of the blue, I got the opportunity someone asked me to consider getting a director certification. And that was back in the day when you could work for the time that you needed in order to be certified, and you just had part certification. And I felt like I had really found my calling when I started working with children. And I immediately recognized in the industry a real need for strong leadership in the lives of the leaders, in the lives of the teachers and the children and their parents. They look to us for everything. And I just saw that need, and I had a real passion immediately to start developing training for the leaders in early childhood education. One of the biggest highlights for me was being able to start work with Primrose Schools Franchising Company. And that's where I spent about 19 years. And I was able to enjoy consulting with schools and coaching and learning from them, learning with them, and able to give them a little bit of support and help. And then the next part of that was getting to work under the leadership of Dr. Mary Zern. And I thought I loved children until I worked with her. And after seeing children through her eyes, there's just some people like that. Yes. I saw children through her eyes, and I was never the same. And all of a sudden it became important to me to help train and strengthen the adults in the lives of children more than just leaders in early childhood. It changed for me. And so that's when the passion really, really grew. And when you work for someone who believes in you, you grow. I grew under her leadership and got further trained in professional development and all of these things that could happen, and then was able to be executive director of training and development. So that's those are the highlights for me, is being able to work for a really strong, good company with great leadership, and then having such a fantastic role model for teaching me how to really see children and how important they are. So that's I smile every time I think of Mary Zern.
That's awesome. I love that so much. Was Mary pivotal in the founding of Primrose, or was she just a mentor in a different light, in a different way?
She was not pivotal in the founding, but she was the first VP, I think, that they hired. There might have been one more person that was over education, but I think Mary may have been the first vice president who actually took it into an education department and
Mm,
grew the department and just created a really strong, I mean, it was always really strong educationally, but she just took it to another step and prepared the way for then another VP to come in and take it even further. So
right.
she was pivotal for the company, not in the founding, but in its growth.
Hmm. I love that. I um, love when you meet people and then they come into your world and you can work with them in a bigger way, and they do help you grow when you're working with somebody that inspires you to that level, like Mary did for
Hmm.
you. I've had a few of those in my life, and I love when you also meet somebody that has that magical love for child, just for everything child related, and the
Yes.
imagination, the discovery, the investigations, the
Yes.
adventure, all those pieces, the love, the empathy, the how you language things for children to make it pop for them, and all of those wonderful, wonderful characteristics that women and men who have that gift carry, and I just adore that. So I know
Yes.
exactly, I can almost tangibly feel what you're talking
Yes,
about there.
it is. It's amazing. If you ever had that experience, you never ever forget it, and it always informs what you do for the rest
Mhm.
of your life, really, in many ways. That's
Mhm.
how powerful leaders are in our lives.
Mm.
That's the kind of influence that they have.
Mm.
So, she's a
So
legacy for me.
yeah, and so you and I have another inspiring leader in common, Mr. John Maxwell,
Yes.
being that you and I are both Maxwell certified.
Yes.
So I love that. And we can talk more about John and his impact on the both of us. But let's talk about, let us learn more about what's going on for you at home. So you're in Texas near Fort Worth. Tell us a little bit more about your home and personal life and what you got going on there at home.
Well, a really big blessing for me is that my mom just celebrated her 97th birthday, and she is well and
Mm.
sharp. Of course, her body is failing, but she's not sick. She
Hmm.
just, her body is failing, but she's sharp. She remembers more than I do. And I have the privilege of overseeing her care. And so I just thank God every day for that. There's something
Mm.
about taking the time and having the patience and, remembering when you're lotioning her, how many times she probably did that for me, you know,
Yeah.
taking care of all my physical needs. And I just turn that around and say, oh, God, thank you.
Right.
It teaches me patience. It
Uh-huh.
teaches me gratitude.
Yep.
And a lot of joy. She makes me laugh. She's funny, and she still has this wry sense of humor, and like I said, doesn't forget anything. So that's a big part of my life right now. And I hate the COVID thing. I hate what it's done to us, and
Yeah.
and all of the ways we've had to stop what we're doing. But in another way,
Hmm.
Kris, when something unusual happens, it brings out the creativity in us. Okay, we can't do it the way we've always done it. So how do we do this?
Hmm.
We can still do this. Let's find a way to do it. And so being creative and finding a way, by not being able to travel, I've been able to spend more time with her.
Hmm.
And yet she's very respectful of my time, as I work and coach and do training over Zoom and all of those things. And then the other thing is that we have moved. Moving to Texas from Georgia was like moving back home. We're both of my husband and I are Texans at heart, and We've been married 39 years, and we have moved to a place where we're close to both sides of our family.
Mm,
So I just think the older we get, the more we realize how important relationships are.
yeah.
And those close relationships, I loved my work. I loved my coworkers. I love my friends, but your work is not going to be there when
Mhm.
you're sick in bed.
Mhm.
They'll send flowers and they might care about you and check on you, but they're not going to come over and take care of you, right?
Right.
And so I've I've done a lot of preaching about that when I talk about trying to have there's no such thing as a work-life balance. By the way, I don't believe in that, but
Right.
there is a such thing as guiding your life in such a way that you have appreciation for the things you need to. So it's been wonderful to, and this part of my life, to kind of come back around full circle, get around the people that love me the best and that I love the best, and just be, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not moving anymore. Let me just say that.
Yes.
I'm done. This is where I'm going to be. I will travel and see you if I can, but I'm not moving.
I
So
hear that.
I'm in a good place, great place.
Yeah, we also moved this year. So I bought my dream home with my fiance. We are on the river in Colorado, and we will not be moving for quite some time. So right
Yes,
there with you.
we're done.
We're done. Yeah. Um, so that's great. What is a fun fact that you could share, something about you that hardly anybody knows?
Well, I asked my husband that question. I said, "What's a fun fact about me?" And he said, "Well, you don't cook anymore." I said, "Well, I don't know if that's a fun fact. It's a fact, but might not be fun."
Right.
But Kris, I worked my way through college cooking at summer camp for
Hmm.
like 200 to 300 campers 3 times a day. And it was back in the day when you got up like at 4 o'clock in the morning and broke, 450 eggs to
Eggs.
feed 300,
Uh-huh.
and then had all this bacon and used the great big grill. And then those kids come through and say, "My eggs aren't fixed very well." And boy, you just you get up at 4:30 and do this. You just got really, defensive about your food. I
Yeah.
loved it though. I love the campers. I love the kids. And that's why when I would help people get their schools open, I've always said, listen, your director, you've got to have a great director. You
Yeah.
must have that strong leader in place. So get a good director. And then the next thing you need to do is get a great cook.
Mhm.
Get someone that wants to do that,
Mhm.
because they have such influence over the whole school.
Yeah.
They're in every room. They're in every room 3 times a day, usually. So they're going to spread something, and you want to make sure it's joy and
Mhm.
and good things. But I always tell them, be respectful and don't just wait to the end and just grab somebody and throw them in the kitchen. Respect the cook. So and that's probably from my
I
from my
love that.
years,
Yeah.
but it's important. Respect the cook. That's your
Yes.
second most important hire.
You're the first person in almost 100 episodes of this podcast to say that, but you're absolutely 110% right, Mecca. I absolutely adore that. And it reminds me of one of my clients, Marcia Finn in DC. She's got a beautiful school and she loves to sing throughout her hallways. She's the owner. She's extremely involved. All her families love her. And she
Uh-huh.
also is very much into the cooking culture of her school. In fact, they're just launching a whole side business of meal delivery for her parents. So as a surprise gift, she gave all of her family's dinner
Oh
recently
my
with
goodness.
chocolate, and they all went crazy. They went
Yeah.
crazy. So, because people will go crazy for food. So you're
They
right. The cook
will.
is like the most overlooked aspect of early learning, care, and hiring is the cook.
And you sometimes wait till the very end and say, "Oh yeah, I need to get somebody to," and it's, you want them to cook with love. It makes
Yes.
a difference in the whole spirit of the school. They're in every classroom more than anyone else,
Hmm.
and if they love what they're doing, yeah, you just try to do it for them when they're not there. And you'll be so glad you got a great cook, and
Yeah.
and someone that, and treat them with huge respect.
Yeah.
Huge respect. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, all of your teachers and staff and everything, but the
Right.
cook's important.
Yeah, that's super cool. Well, after all of those 400 eggs and so many summer camps of doing that, no wonder you're not cooking anymore. You should tell your
Exactly.
hubby,
I
it's
said,
like
I'm cooked out.
cooked out.
I will cook and I can cook, but the thought of getting together a meal, it's like, let's go out or let me order it or
Right.
something. Yeah. So
Good.
I will every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a lot of expertise regarding leadership and helping Primrose run their schools effectively. What are some lessons that you learned as an early learning leader? One or two of the most important lessons that you learned regarding the business side, besides hiring a cook, that, all those things you just shared, which
Exactly.
that's a writer downer, by the way.
Yeah.
So what else you got? I know you have a lot of wisdom in there. Shit.
I think, and I've always believed this, but I came to believe it even more strongly in working with schools, is that we need to have as much respect for our teachers as we do for our parents. And by that, I mean, sometimes we really focus on the bottom line, which is absolutely important. If you don't, you're not going to have a good business. But if your focus is on the bottom line instead of on your people, sometimes we look at payroll, we see our teachers and our directors, everything as payroll. And we look at that bottom line and we see that's the huge piece. We've got to cut this payroll. But we're not thinking of what those dollar bills represent. Mm-hmm. They represent people. Mm-hmm. And those people, those teachers are the reason your parents come. Now, a good director is the reason teachers will stay. And mm-hmm. the reason parents may feel comfortable. But I have seen parents stay because they have a lot of faith in the people running the school, yes, but in the way the classrooms are handled. And so I think it's so important that we deliver the same level of customer service to our staff and our teachers mm-hmm. as we ask them to deliver to the children and parents. Mm. And sometimes we fail to do that. And just think about the way we prepare for parents walking in, a walk-in parent coming in the door. We see that as money coming in. And I mean, we'll have a packet ready. We will do everything to drop what we're doing and talk to that parent and show them around and be proud of our work and sometimes introduce our teachers. I think we're getting better about making them part of the tour because there's been a real emphasis on that. Mm-hmm. But then take a look at what we do when a walk-in potential staff member comes in. Sometimes we'll be on the phone and we might stay on the phone and say, here's the application, just here, fill that out. I've seen schools do it. I've done it. Yeah. And I think, even though we might look at that person and feel like by their appearance and the way they showed up that we might not ever hire them, our culture ought to be that nobody comes into our school and leaves without feeling the most respected they've ever felt. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's really important that we ensure our mindset is that the people who are providing the service are as important, if not more important, than the service, than the people to whom you're providing service. Mm-hmm. When I ran a childcare and I had a strong respect for my teachers, I gave them what they needed to succeed in their classrooms. I checked on them. I made sure they were okay. And I don't mean being a doormat. I just mean treating them with the same level of customer service. That took care of my bottom line. My reputation was good. Mm-hmm. People wanted to come and stay. They would say, man, that's a neat place to work. And I'm not saying I'm the be all end all. I'm just saying when I was smart enough to do that, mm-hmm. that it made a difference. And yes, you've got to look at your business. You've got to be frugal, but no one ever made a profit by saving. You make a profit. You make profit by taking care of your people and delivering what you said you were going to deliver. So to me, that's the greatest lesson, and it totally impacts your culture. And you can strategize all day long. Was it Peter Drucker who said that culture eats strategy for breakfast? Mm-hmm. So we can strategize all day long with all of our worksheets and everything. But if we're not loving our people, then we have an issue. We're not going to be successful. So to me, that's the biggest, and it impacts everything I do and every training that I do, every coaching session that I have, it's and loving your people means holding them accountable
Yeah.
and not allowing them to stay if they don't strengthen your team. That's loving
Mm-hmm.
your people. It's not
Mm-hmm.
all pie in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very important that love sometimes there's tough love.
Yeah.
And tough love sometimes is to say, look, I think you're a great person, but you don't work here. And it's you're just not congealing as part of our team. And I need you to go where you're going to be happy
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to help us be better. It's going to help you be better.
I love
So
that. That
I need you to
reminds
go
me.
be happy.
Yeah. Love that. That component reminds me of John Maxwell in his book Leader Shift, where he talks about not being a people pleaser,
Yes.
but being a people, as I call it, a people developer. I think he calls it a people challenger. In other words,
Mhm.
what you just said is tough love, challenge your people, but the best for your people, oftentimes it's not just pleasing them, going the easy way, letting them do less than excellent, letting them do less
Mm-mm.
than their best, coddling them,
Right.
all those behaviors that I think because we're loving leaders and caring people, sometimes we do look for the easy route, the non-confrontational route.
Mhm.
But leadership is really standing up and going, I'm not going to be a people pleaser. I'm going to develop this person because I know they have better inside of them. And I'm going to
Yes,
pull it out and challenge them and develop them and lead the
absolutely.
way.
You look at who's on the other side of the table, and everything you're saying is for their benefit. You
Mm-hmm,
want them to be the best that they can be. And it really does not help people not to hold them accountable. It
mm-hmm,
does not. It actually weakens them
mm-hmm,
and robs them of the opportunity to be stronger, to be better, to grow, to be the leader someday. I mean, it's a challenge, and sometimes and it takes a lot of wisdom to know how to do that. And we don't always do it right, but if we consistently work with our people in an authentic way, and they know that we mean what we say, and we apologize when we've done it wrong, people will follow you to the end of the world. They just will because they desire that. We crave that kind of leadership and that kind of authentic relationship. I believe we're created for it. And if we know
mm-hmm.
how to meet that need, we've got a big plus in trying to run a child care program.
Love that. So let's talk about one of the sessions that you teach. And I know that content that you came and you were with us actually in person I think I want to say a year and a half ago, you came to one of our
Mhm.
academy meetings and did some great sessions for our people. And I'm interested in one of these sessions that you've created called the 5 Guardians of Life. And so first I want you to just tell the listeners a little bit about the 5 Guardians of Life. What does that mean?
Well, in my prior role, I did a lot of developing of training for directors, and we would provide leadership courses for them. And I would watch just some of the best come in and look sharp and for a while really present themselves. Not they always presented themselves professionally, but after you're in a class for a little while, you kind of relax and become more yourself. And as I listened to them and let them talk and just in fact, I would make a point of not having anything real heavy the first 3 or 4 hours, just an opportunity to share with one another some of your triumphs and your challenges, your accomplishments, those kinds of things. And they were worn out. When they really got to talking about it, they're tired. They are, working 12-hour days and some of them, and a lot of it depended on who was supporting you. You know, those of us who do love children and love this industry, a lot of times we are givers and we give and give and give and give and give and don't realize the importance of taking care of ourselves first.
Mm,
I'm dealing with this even in overseeing the care of my mother. Um, it's not okay not to take care of me, where my tendency is just to take care of her. But it's not okay. I'm not going to last long enough to take
yep.
care of her if I don't take care of myself. And so I saw in them the real need to have this self-discipline and to care for ourselves first. And Kris, we make the mistake of getting up in the morning sometimes and saying, I'm going to ensure my staff is happy today. I'm going to ensure my parents are happy, that they're pleased with their experience. And we set ourselves up to fail by doing that. We're not going to make everybody happy. It doesn't matter if we do everything right, if we do everything by principle, and if we were to look at it and say, I had a successful day, but I had 2 staff members that were unhappy with me, and I had a parent walk out. You cannot take that on yourself if you did things the right way, if you followed policy, if you operated by principle. That's on them. But we kind of take it on ourselves and wear it and become bogged down with that. And so I thought, we need to set up some guards in our lives to help us to take guardianship over who we are first before we move out into this world to do everything that we're trying to do for the benefit of all the children entrusted to our care and their parents who look to us as doctors and psychologists and everything in the world, right? So that's where it came from. It's just seeing a need to give us permission to care for ourselves first. And so I developed and I'll just give it quickly.
Yeah.
Guarding your mind first. That's where the battle is. The battle is in the mind for everything else that we deal with. Do you know that in the 1970s, we had about 500 ads that we potentially saw a day? By the 2007, 2008, it was around 5,000. Now it's between 6 and 10,000 ads that are thrown at us that we have the potential. We may not see all of those, but they're out there. And every one of them are to tell us that there's something we don't have that we need, or that in some way we're not enough and we need something more. And it's thrown at us all the time. And so I really challenge this very quickly. I'll challenge them to watch what they listen to, what they look at, what they dwell on. I said, you can't help seeing something the first time, but you can sure help watching it. you can't help hearing something the first time, but you can help continuing to listen. What are those things that we allow into our minds and into our hearts that discourage us, or that cause us to feel like we're not enough, that we don't measure up, that there's something wrong with us? Because why else would people spend $345 billion in advertising unless it's going to produce that much money and more?
Right.
Sharing. And so it's really important to know that, to realize it, and to protect yourself from it. And so not only that, just to guard your minds, but also to input into your mind things that are good, that are lovely, that make us know we're worthy, that add value to our lives, because whatever we put in is going to come out. So I think it's really, really important that we protect our minds. And in doing that, we're protecting our thoughts. Our thoughts are going to become our actions. Our actions are going to become, our thoughts are going to become our words. Our words set over and become our actions. Our actions become our character. And then we can't control our reactions. Our reactions are going to be who we really are. So it's important. So protecting the mind, and then protecting the mouth. I used to say protect your tongue because your words are so important. But in discovering, I do a session on protecting what goes into our mouths and what comes out of our mouth. Because there's scientific evidence that our gut, that strong gut feeling, it's scientific, it's real. It has more neurons. We have more neurons in the gut than we do in the brain. And what we eat, and I really focus on, it's not about what size you are, whether you think you're fat or skinny. That's not the issue. It's, do you feel good to do what you're called to do? I think every one of us are created with the gifts that we need to do what we're purposed to do. But do we feel good enough to do it?
Right.
Do we feel good? Do we have the energy? And that's what I challenge. Just, and I have a video that ends with, do you want a happy meal or a meal that makes you happy? Which I think is great. Everybody wants a happy meal. Everybody wants burgers and fries. But how do we feel after we have a diet like that? So I just challenge us about how we eat and healthy eating. And then the words that come out of our mouths. We either encourage or discourage people, Kris, with every word that we speak. everything that comes out of our mouth does one thing or the other. Do people encourage being around you, or are they discouraged? That doesn't mean you're always real sweet and sugary and all of that. It just means that you're real, and that what you say, you realize you can't ever take back. And what we say makes people feel a certain way, and they never forget how they feel. So then the third one is protecting your heart. I talk about putting up defenses, putting up this armor, this shield over our hearts. I think with the 10,000 ads coming at us telling we're not everything that we should be, we spend so much time in the morning getting ready with our outward appearance for the world, what they're going to see, which is important. I'm not saying don't put on your deodorant, and comb your hair and all of those things. Put your lipstick on. I have a little sign back here that says, put a little lipstick on, you'll be all right. So I'm all for looking your best, but think about the time that we spend in the morning getting ready with our outward appearance, and the little time that we spend getting our hearts ready for what we're going to face in the day. And I always tell our leaders, listen, children don't care if you have a bad hair day, but they really do care if you have a bad heart day. So it's important to put that armor. And listen, we get so easily offended. Even we live in a world where everything offends us, and it makes us operate as victims. When we walk around offended, we walk around as victims. And victims do not operate with strength and wisdom and confidence and all of those things. So you can't be offended and be everything you ought to be. So put that shield up and realize that hardly ever does anybody really do something thinking, I'm going to see if I can offend her. I'm going to see just how mad I can make her.
Right.
Nobody does that. We just are not cautious, and we're careless and all of those things. And so giving people the benefit of the doubt, determining you're not going to take things personally, you're going to put the shield up. Just because something's offensive doesn't mean you need to be offended. If you need to take care of it, do it and then move on. But guarding your heart in that way so that you can respond in the right way. And then guarding your attitude. Listen, that is the only thing over which we have complete control. The only thing. Chuck Swindoll said that life is 10% what happens and 90% how we respond to it.
Yep.
And I just think of how many times in early childhood, there's so many things that go on in a day that can either turn into insurmountable mountains, or they can be taken care of with the right response, with an attitude of gratitude. I even be grateful for the situation. Okay, I'm grateful for this. What can I learn from it? How can I handle it? So that I can be a better mentor, a better director, a better person, a better coworker. What is it that I can do that will help me to be better through this? And I want to handle this in the right way for the best of everyone involved. So it's just having an attitude that causes you to be grateful, and it's a choice you make.
Yeah.
That old phrase, getting up on the wrong side of the bed. I've gotten up before on the wrong side of the bed, and Kris literally said, you just need to get back in bed and get up on the other side, roll it over and get up on the other side and say, get happy, girl. It's a new day. You can do that. You can change your attitude. So I've done it. People might think I'm crazy to know that, but that might be a fun fact.
I'm going to use that.
Just get back in bed and roll over on the other side and get up and be happy. And then
and if my fiance is still laying there, I'm going to steamroll right on top on over him. And he'll like
what
it.
Are you doing? Yeah,
he'll be like, well, let's play. What are we doing?
What's going on?
That was too much information. Sorry, guys. But anyways, keep going. I love that. That's really, really good.
So, and then the last one is guarding your spirit. And I look at that as, listen, we've all worked around people and been around people who are know-it-alls. And it's awful. As directors and leaders in this industry, in the industry, really, we would rather have someone that has no experience, but has a great heart, has a willingness to work and to learn, and will do what you need them to do with the right heart attitude. We would rather have that person than someone with a master's that knows everything in the world about early childhood that you can't tell anything. I call them stiff necks. Have you ever seen people just kind of stiffen their neck when you try to talk to them? Like, I know she's not trying to tell me what to do, or no, she's not trying to tell me. I know everything about. And you just want to say, look, you're no help to me. You have all of this knowledge, but your spirit is not teachable. I need someone that has a teachable spirit. And so I really encourage everyone to approach every day with a beginner's mind. Don't get up like you know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Get up and say, I'm going to learn something through every situation today.
Mm.
And when we do that, we do learn. And it
Mm-hmm.
also changes us to very confident, approachable people.
Mm-hmm.
If people around us believe that we want to learn from them and that we're willing to learn from them and that we will, and in learning from them, we help everyone be better that comes in contact with us. So
Mm-hmm.
um, to me, if we can do that, but it starts with the mind.
Mm.
If we
Mm.
can do that, we'll be different people. We'll be stronger people. We will be able to be what these children need us to be, what our coworkers need us to be, what the
Yes.
teachers need us to be. And it's a challenge, and it's it's a challenge that you have to work on daily. But I strongly believe those are things we should dwell on in the morning, preparing our
Mm-hmm.
hearts and our minds for the day. And we'll be beautiful, much more beautiful people than it just if we just have on our makeup right and our hair look great, but we're sour and we're
Right.
victims and we're offended. And
Mm-hmm.
someone will say, go back to bed.
Right.
Go back home. We don't need you today. I need
Yeah.
somebody that's happy
Yeah.
to be here. Yeah.
Happy,
So
ready to learn,
ready to
great
go.
attitude,
Absolutely.
a heart of
Absolutely.
giving, a positive mindset, a growth oriented approach. Is like, so I
Yes.
love that. Really, really
Yeah.
good stuff. Um, we have had an unprecedented year of challenge this year in
Mm.
2020, Mecca, especially at this time in this season right now. Why, or should I, maybe I should say, how can people face crisis, face trauma, face sadness at unprecedented levels, um, and continue trying to work on these things? I guess these guardians of life are fantastic, but it's just, I mean, you said it's difficult, it's not easy, but during this time, I think we need this more than ever. Have you seen any tips or things that people are doing with this kind of teaching and this approach during the COVID season that you can share? Any other, extra stuff that we might need in our toolkit with relating to dealing with crisis and with COVID right now?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to something I said about gratitude. It is so important. It changes our world.
Mm,
And it doesn't matter what's going on, Kris, we can always find something to be grateful for. If we wake up without a job and we're not sure what we're going to feed our children, or I mean, you can think about all the things, but if we woke up in a warm place and we knew where our children were,
mm-hmm.
and we at least knew they were in the bed next door or in the other room, there's something to be grateful for. I woke up this morning. I can walk, I can see, I still have my wits about me. I'm going to be grateful for that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to proceed knowing that this day is going to get better. And I'm telling you, we can change the trajectory of our lives.
Mm,
I believe that gratitude produces joy, not the other way around. When we're grateful and we choose to be grateful, it produces joy. And joy is where we get our passion for doing what we have to do, whether it's a mom trying to feed her children, whether it's an owner trying to open their school and not sure where their funds are going to come from because of the COVID, or whether it's trying to decide how to train your staff or how to deal with the third COVID case that's been, that's come up positive,
mm-hmm.
and now two teachers have to leave and be quarantined for 2 weeks, and how am I going to deal with that? But I'm telling you, if the attitude is, I'm going to be grateful today that 19 of my teachers don't have COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm,
going to be grateful today for some really sharp people in my life that want this to work and love these children and then are going to work with me to make this happen. I'm going to be grateful today. You might have 5 parents that cause you to lose your sleep at night. That's the way we do. You have 600 adults saying how wonderful we are, with all the grandparents and
mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and and stepdads and stepmoms and cousins and aunts and grandparents, but you'll have 5 parents that are bad mouthing you and you lose sleep over it.
Right.
And so, in the way, and that drains us, it robs us of everything we need to be vital and to be relevant. And so I would encourage everyone, whether things are going great or things are not going so great, develop, and I know everybody in the world has said this before, but it works. Develop an attitude journal. I mean, a gratitude journal.
Gratitude
What are you
journal,
grateful
yeah.
for? And then the other thing is we need to focus on hope. Having a hopeful heart. There's hope. As long as I'm breathing, there's hope. And thinking about it that way, and I actually have a session on the case for hope that I've done that's been very well received. And one of the things that I'm going to order and I'm reading, it's a new book by Dr. Randy Ross called Hope Rises. And he's someone that I have followed and worked personally with. He's also done relationsnomics, and he's really big on culture and relationships. But he just wrote that book, and I've just seen little snippets of it. And I would encourage anyone that needs to be encouraged right now, and it needs to learn how to focus on what's good about what's going on and what's still good in our lives. I'm just thinking about living in the United States, and even though we're struggling, and a lot of people are struggling, there's still so much to be grateful for. That we can find other avenues to help people to get the message out, to take care of children, and it's caused us to be better people. When you have to dig for what's good and pull yourself up by the bootstrap, I'm telling you, it strengthens who you are. And sometimes we might have been just a little bit too fat and sassy.
Yeah.
Because everything well, we forget what it takes to do well, to really, really do well. And I think it's good for us to have to stop and take inventory and check. And so I would encourage everyone, number one, make it, and this is your choice. You're the only one that can make this choice, but you can make it no matter what. Be grateful and establish a process for expressing that gratitude, and take care of your heart in the morning. Don't go out. Don't do anything until you're prepared your heart for the day, because that your heart and your mind, that's where the joy is going to come from, and where the ability to handle anything that comes your way is going to come from. So remember gratitude, remember hope. Those are the things. And then keep busy. I mean, and that doesn't mean don't take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. Knock out 30 minutes of exercise. Eat your breakfast. Just make a plan for your day. And I actually don't have on pajama bottoms. I really don't. And sometimes it's get up, get dressed, put your makeup on, and prepare your heart and your mind for your day. It'll make a difference. It'll really make a difference. And if it makes a difference for you, it's going to make a difference for anyone who comes in contact with you that day.
Love that. Love that. I was going to ask you if you could put a message on a billboard that was shared with the world, what would it say? But I think we just got our answer, Mecca, which is
every circumstance,
gratitude.
Choose gratitude. In every circumstance, choose gratitude.
I love that.
That's it.
So you mentioned Hope Rises. Tell us a little bit about what you're reading, watching, listening to right now. Share any resources that inspire you with regard to books, podcasts, videos, anything, TED Talks, anything.
Yeah. Of course, I love John Maxwell. Anything he writes is encouraging. I probably have 20 of his books, and I literally I have them down by my desk, and I will pull them out and refer to them, at different times throughout the day, and in things that I write and those kind of things. He's an encourager. So, and he writes very simply but profoundly. Not everybody knows how to do that, but he does. And so I encourage you to get something of his, even and sometimes he has daily readings that you can read if you wanted to do that. And I mentioned Dr. Randy Ross. And another thing that I listen to that is really, really good, it's called Darren Daily, Darren Daily, Daily. And it's daily instruction by Darren Hardy. It is not early childhood education focused. And sometimes that's good. We need to get a different perspective, but it's all about, there's not a day that I'll listen to it that I couldn't develop a whole session on 3 or 4. He's a little bit like Maxwell. He's just so profound with what and he's so practical. And, we had a really, really tough upbringing. So he wasn't raised with a silver spoon in his mouth. And really,
Mm,
the people who sometimes have the greatest impact on lives are the ones who did struggle
mm-hmm.
growing up and have overcome some things. So I would encourage anyone to listen to his daily podcast. They're free, and you can just Google Darren Daily and sign up for that, and it comes through a text, and you can just click on it and listen. It's less than 5 minutes, but it can be part of that preparing your heart for the day type thing. So I would encourage people to focus in on that and spend some time with Darren Daly. That's always been a huge, huge help to me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those. I love the Minute with Maxwell too.
Yes, I do
That's a
too.
good one.
I sure do. That comes in, and then
Yeah.
by the time I listen to all the people I love, I've got my 30 minutes of preparing my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Some
Yeah,
days, I don't listen to them every day, but some days you just need that,
you
and it's
do.
nice to have it there, especially on those hard days. And so those are all really, really good tips and
And
resources. Thank
and
you.
when you can bring them up, you can listen to them in the car if you're going
Yeah.
somewhere. Spend your time, because that's in the car. Part of the guardians is making sure that you guard your self-talk,
Hmm.
because we can really say some bad things to ourselves, and then we try to be an encourager to other people. So and I find that when I'm in the car, if I don't have on music, sometimes that's when my self-talk can take over. And that's the only time when I tell people to stop talking and listen. Stop talking to yourself like that and listen to something good.
Hmm. Yes.
Usually it's stop talking and listen. I say
Uh-huh.
stop listening and speak. Stop listening and speak. Don't listen to that voice.
Yeah.
Speak words of affirmation, but listening to these kind of things in the car really do. I've had a better experience at the grocery store listening to Darren Daly on the way to the grocery store.
That's
Girl,
awesome.
you're gonna find the ads, and you're gonna make some good purchases today.
Yeah. I love it. Super fun.
Yeah.
Um, I also think it reminds us too to do random acts of kindness. That's kind of like
Yes.
something that I know people have talked about, like buying the person in the Starbucks line ahead of you or behind you, paying for the coffee for the guy behind you, etc. When you listen to that kind of stuff on your way to the store and just having gratitude for your neighbor,
Hmm.
people at this grocery store, you don't know those people, but a lot of times if someone cuts you off with their cart or stuff can happen and somebody can like beat you to the parking spot or they can, and I just think coming to those everyday routine tasks
Hmm.
with a new frame of mind from something
Yes.
you listen to in the car can also just be a game changer for your day. So I
Hmm.
love that. It's
And
good.
when we're in that right spirit, we can actually be a game changer for someone else's day,
Yeah,
just because of the way we
absolutely.
interact with them. It might be, we have no idea what impact we have on
Hmm.
people. So it's
Yeah,
good to
it
prepare our
is good.
hearts and minds. It is.
Yeah.
Makes for a more
Awesome.
joyful life.
For sure. And I know you're all about joy because your
I
website is
am.
My Joy Speaks. So that's a perfect segue. I just queued it up perfectly. Tell
There you go.
people how they can reach you and learn more about you and your speaking and everything you do.
Thank you. I do have a website. It's www.myjoyspeaks.com, and you can send me an email directly from the website, or my email is Mecca, MECCA, at myjoyspeaks.com. And I would love to hear from you. Do lots of coaching and training and consulting, and love it,
Yay.
and love working with people and seeing them flourish.
Well, when we had you come and be with our academy folks, both the owners and the directors loved your sessions, and I give you a major thumbs up. We got to bring you back to a future meeting when we're all traveling again. We are
Sure.
actually traveling in the coming year and doing our quarterly mastermind meetings live. We're doing a hybrid approach
Sure.
for people that don't want to travel, or if they're caring for an elderly loved one, then they can't travel, et cetera, et cetera. But we are excited because we are actually going to the beach in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. We'll be on the beach on the shores of Clearwater Beach near Tampa. So I'm
There
excited
you
about
go.
that, Mecca. I need
Okay.
some
Well,
beach time,
good.
girl. I need some
Girl, I
beach
know
time.
it. We all need beach time, don't we? Well,
Good.
I also have great support, so I can travel if I need to, but
Hmm.
but I'm in a good spot
Yeah.
doing lots of Zoom things too. So I'd love to
Good.
hear from anyone who would like any further information.
Great. MyJoySpeaks.com. Love this session. It's been wonderful talking to you on this episode of Child Care Rockstar Radio. Mecca Johnson, thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you so much, Kris. Great to be with you.
Absolutely. And thanks to everybody who tunes in regularly to our show. We just surpassed 70,000 downloads, and I'm thrilled to have y'all with us on this journey. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.